Jaden, thank you for joining Voice of America today. And you are from Global Refuge International. Tell me why Global Refuge International is so interested in Burma, especially the Shan State.
Burma has been a kind of a hot spot for us as an organization because it's the first place we ever worked. About 10 years ago, all of us in our individual ways had a chance to go work alongside the Karen people and work in the conflict areas. And it was just a sticking point for us. It was a place that we all felt our hearts got attached to. And the Shan have been a people that we've been targeting because they're an area where a lot of people don't go to.
I understand that you were in the Shan State for about 3 months, witnessing all of these displaced peoples and where the battles took place. Can you describe a little bit about your findings there or your insights in the area?
Well, we are operating health programs in Shan State, and so I was actually there setting up health trainings and programs as we are trying to build a makeshift ministry of health, you could say. So we were there not necessarily chasing the fighting kind of situation. As I think the fighting started in March, it began to heat up about the time that I was there working, and so we started to hear information trickling out. And so we started following up on rumors and leads and information we were hearing, and we started to find some really disturbing things taking place, villages being overrun, bombs being dropped that might or might not be chemically related or biologically related. And we started to hear some things that didn't sound right, so we followed up on them.
So what were those things that didn't sound so right?
The first reports we had heard were that some members of the Shan State Army had been exposed to the remnants of some bombs that they claimed to be different than anything they had seen. These were experienced officers, and they felt like it was something different. So we asked a lot more information. We then had the chance to actually personally interview a number of officers who had come in contact with smoke from bombs that had hit, and things seemed to kind of follow how they had presented them. And so we researched deeper and found some things that were quite disturbing, things that we can't necessarily, we're not experts in weapons.
Some of the things that you did find were these interviews, and you had even sent me an interview about the events that occurred on June 3rd as well as on March 21st of this year. And in these interviews, what did these people tell you?
These guys were all in their 40s, and all officer level guys. They had been fighting for a long time and had been a part of a lot of battles with the Burmese. And so we asked, is this similar to anything you've seen in the past? Are these bombs that could be just mixed differently or done differently? And every single account we got individually was very similar to the next, depending on similar in symptoms, but not necessarily similar in how the events went down.
I wanted to track back. So on June 3rd and March 21st of 2011, what happened? Can you explain?
Well, we had accounts that on June 3rd, in some areas that were under Burmese control, a group of 5 officers were traveling through a mountainous area. Some arms fire had been exchanged, and a couple of bombs, I believe 4 in this case, hit within about 100 meters of these guys. And the impact didn't do much, but the gas that came from them, the smoke, they described as being an eerie, different color than they had experienced. Immediately some guys were fainting, some guys were vomiting.
Do you know who launched this smoke, these bombs?
They claim it was, they actually can give some regiment numbers and some information that they claim was the Burma Army. These guys have learned through the years to try to track regiment numbers and commander names and stuff so that they can use that to report. So we have the information that they've given us.
When you say these guys collecting all this regiment, it's the Shan State Army.
The Shan State Army.
That you're talking about.
These are
SSA.
from the Shan State Army
Okay.
North Division.
So how reliable are your sources?
Well, we feel like, I mean, obviously this is a war and this is fighting. And so the reason we haven't just gone out like crazy making confirmed claims is because it is coming from fighting areas. What we do know is that the information we received, when we've explained to some people within our circles, they've said that it sounds very interesting. From my own personal account, with me with a background in health, you can tell that these guys, this may not be the reason. These guys could have illnesses, they could have something from the past, but the way that they look, the way they carry themselves is consistent with the way they describe what happened to them.
And you had gone in not to really research about the chemical weapon abuse, but to help and to aid.
Right.
So why did you decide to choose another topic?
Well, we as an organization have a desire to see people have peace and freedom and autonomy and the ability to operate within their government and that kind of thing. And Burma has been a place where we've tried to stay apolitical. We've tried to not take a side. You know, it's a tough thing as a humanitarian group. We cannot access the country of Burma unless we're either under Burmese control or we're under the control of someone who might be opposing the Burmese government. So it's an interesting thing because we try to understand both sides. The reason that we got a little bit diverted on this topic is because if this is happening, this is something that raises new concern for us. We obviously know that in war, there's going to be fighting, there's going to be attacks, civilians are going to die. We know these kind of things are going to happen. But when these kind of things like either chemical or nuclear kind of things or whatever it might be, when we start to hear things, we go, we should maybe follow up on this.
One of your witnesses was talking about black bombs and how he felt the effects of the black bombs weeks after he was hit, about joint pains and about not being able to sleep. Can you tell me a little bit more about this? The
consistent symptoms across everybody that we interviewed were vomiting for up to 10 days, blood a lot of times. We had a lot of dizziness. They tried to describe sleeping, but you're not really sleeping. Feeling like you're out of body in a way, and then every so few days actually just kind of collapsing because it's like you're not actually going into any kind of sleep.
And how many people did you interview?
This was 9.
And they all had the same symptoms?
Yeah. And the guys that I saw, the group of 5, all 5 of them looked like they had, many of them would walk for a few minutes and get really exhausted. You could tell they were kind of, for guys that were in their 40s that are soldiers, they were, 2 of the guys I remember especially were kind of hunched over, walking very slowly, laboring. You could tell through things. They explained how they would get exhausted so easily just moving even for a few minutes.
Why do you think that the Burmese military army would use chemical weapons instead of real bombs?
Well, a lot of what we have learned is that the Burma Army is struggling, I think, and I think that they're lacking finances. You know, we find a lot of cases of defections and stuff in the different areas because they're running out of food rations, they're running out of all these kind of things. The actual men on the ground, I think, are not as many as it seems. And so I think we will see, we've already seen with some jets flying over and some aircraft, stuff they haven't used in a lot of years. It seems like they're trying to do some things that can get larger results with less effort, I guess you'd say. Things like bombs that can maybe kill more people, air attacks, things like that.
What should the international community do to bring peace into the region?
Well, it's a complex issue. I mean, it's, you know, there's a political issue with where the Burma Army gets their support. You know, there's a lot of politics there. I think that the best thing that we feel that can happen is for what's happening in Burma to be broadcasted on a global stage. If the Burma Army is operating the way that they claim to be operating, then let's see evidence. Let's see it happen on a global stage. Let's allow some people to go into these areas and see that they're the victims and that these things, you know, the things that they claim, and if they can be confirmed, okay, that's great. You know, like the international community can accept that. But there's a reason why I think they don't. There's a reason why we have to sneak in all the time to go to places, because they don't want us to see these things.
So there is no third-party confirmation, meaning that you aren't certain whether these chemical weapons or these abuses are from the Burma Army.
No, I would not feel comfortable saying that we know 100% that that's what's happened. You know, from a logical reasoning standpoint, we feel like there's definitely a reason to investigate it on an official level. We would definitely feel comfortable going to an agency, a UN agency, and saying this should be investigated because we have reason to believe it's happening. Everything that we've been told by these sources and the people that brought these people to us has been true.
And the sources are from the Shan State Army?
Yeah. They're
only
from,
SSA?
They're from the Army. A lot of the times our connections to those Army individuals are civilian.
Okay.
And so they typically understand the kind of the level of accuracy that we demand. And so in the past, they've never given us reason to believe that these things were untrue. They understand the complications it does for us if we make claims that aren't true. So we have reason to believe that they wouldn't have brought it to us. But in a journalistic standpoint, that doesn't hold up. So,
Yes.
you know, so, but definitely we wish that someone would be willing to really confirm this. Can they? That's another story.
Maybe next time. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jaden.
you.